Nice. Uh, the railway challenge, you mean? Oh yeah, the like a couple of years ago, the Clean's first challenge. It was huge. It was like 1 month of work, and where I think in my YouTube channel there is that video. It was ton of effects and sci-fi things, crystals, and I got very surprised on what you did with Blender. I was amazed. I didn't think that was even possible. Yeah, because you did that displacement thing of the planet imploding, and I say, hey, I need to do that in RBD. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So basically, I am a guy from Argentina. Uh, I live in Buenos Aires. Some people may know where that is, and I started as an illustrator. Believe it or not, I used to draw a lot, and I draw since I was 10 years old, I think. I used to draw monsters, creatures, and some crazy stuff. And I used to have a fascination with dragons, in fact. There were some artists, I think one of them was called Uccello. I think it was from Italy. I don't remember. But I was really fascinated with his works. And I started there. And when I was in school, not in college, but in school, we had like some kind of test in making our own presentation with tons of artworks, and I actually made 6 dragons. All had to do with elements: fire, water, air, etc. And one main element. And I was really into philosophy. That's why I tried to do everything with a deeper meaning.
Nice.
I also got into some programming, doing things from for Java or Adobe Macromedia. You remember that program? It was very
Actually,
old. We used
I
to
don't think
play
I do.
in. You don't? Okay, so Adobe Macromedia is like what today is called Adobe Animate,
Ah,
and we used to play a lot using Adobe Macromedia Flash 8. That was basically an animation program, and we could do video games. I believe like Boxhead. Do you know Boxhead? It was a game, a Flash game where you kill a lot of zombies.
yeah. I
Well,
believe I do. It's been so
well,
long.
yeah, a decade almost. And I used to draw in that. I used to do some anime stuff and nothing very advanced, but I explored that software. I started with Photoshop, making pranks for my friends, like switching a head on a girl's body or crazy stuff. I mean, we all done that if we are into design. And
Yes.
then I also began, which where I don't have the pictures right now. They are on my Facebook, and I don't remember what my Facebook is, or yeah, where it is. And I started doing planets, like a sphere, a texture with some spherical distortion, and of course the classical with with the flare and all the things you can see on very basic stuff with Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I finished college. I mean, and I finished school. Then I moved to. Can I share screen because I have the
Yes.
website open?
Yes, you can certainly share
It's
screen.
okay. So basically, when I finished school, I moved to Da Vinci. Da Vinci is a school in or a college in Argentina about design. You can do multimedia design, 3D, you can do animation, a lot of things basically, video games, engineer, and I chose multimedia design because at that time I actually didn't know what I was going to follow. I didn't know if I wanted to do 3D. I never touched 3D until I was like 20 years old or 19. I never did animation, like serious animation. I didn't do web development. I didn't know anything. All I
Mm-hmm.
knew is that I was a nerd, that I wanted to do something very professional. So I dived in and I began. And don't cry, Alex. Okay, so I began and I made tons of friends. We shared different interests. It was people from everywhere around the country. There were even people from other countries like Venezuela or Peru,
Mm-hmm.
from Spain. Um, and I discovered that making 3D was kind of interesting. Um, the problem with college, many of you might know, you went to a college, is that it is very slow and it is very generic. Of course, the teachers will uh, that are there usually love to teach. There are some exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
um, but the main teaching or the main process of learning comes from yourself, from looking into the internet, talking with people, joining Discord servers. It
Yeah.
is impressive how much knowledge there is just on Discord.
Oh,
Well,
for sure.
we tend to hang very often into the voice chats, and we actually learn a lot. It was yesterday that we learned some things about doing mountains and masks, and it was like playing. That's the good thing about this industry. That if you're really passionate about it, it's like playing a video game
Oh yeah,
and
you
hanging
can
out.
learn. You can learn everything, man.
Hmm. And college was for me just a medium, right? It was a medium to know people, the context, and that's when things get serious. When you start to actually work. My first paid job was to make I should actually made flyers for a nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was going to begin doing that, but I started working, like making. There was a band. I had to look for the band. I had to look for pictures and do the UX of the reel that was going to go into the Instagram of the nightclub, and it was very very low salary. But I
Mm-hmm.
never got paid, so it was like a lot for me.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, if some of you guys have seen my videos, I always use the same. I think it's called collar or necklace. That necklace was from my first salary. It was so little that the only thing I could buy was an ice cream and that collar or necklace. What's the difference between collar and necklace? Is it the same? Do you
Necklace is
know?
like smaller. I don't really know because I barely know what a necklace is. Um,
Okay, okay.
but like I don't know. Collar is like
A
it's
chain.
implied. Yeah, a little bit
Yeah, I'm talking about a chain. So
thicker.
that chain was my first actually paid thing for myself, and I enjoyed. And ever since, I'm using it on all my videos. And I don't think I'm going to ever change that because it has a lot of meaning. I usually put a lot of meaning in things. So we started going into this field of into this college. I was doing everything on my own. Of course, there was some tasks, but I usually YouTube and spend whole nights learning and learning and learning, doing courses, talking with,
Mm-hmm.
talking with people. I didn't start using Houdini. I started using 3D Max with V-Ray. It was a pain. I mean, it's a really good software, but it is a pain because it so many buttons. I don't know if you use Max before, but there are so many buttons all over the place. It's like ZBrush. There are buttons all over
Yeah.
the place. I don't even know how to move the camera there, but I learned. I learned how to do some cubes, how to do some chairs, desks, the basic stuff. Not even materials. Um, I usually wanted to do my own things on the class, right? Um, I never pay attention to the teachers. I mean, I did, of course, but I
Oh my god.
usually
We are the
did my own
exact
things.
same.
Yeah, I mean, do a chair, and I brought, I don't know, a tank or something like that, because I don't want to do a chair. It's so basic, so boring. I want to do my own thing, and I usually got away with that because I like to talk a lot. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually became a friend of the teacher, and maybe I had some, I don't know, some meals after college with them because I don't know, I'm very sociable, and I say, hey, let me do this final lesson like I want. I don't want to do this. This is very basic, you know it. And talking, I ended up doing everything that I wanted, usually speaking. Um, you know, when you're in college, one recommendation if you are going to start college, which I don't know if I recommend it, but if you do, try not to take college as the Bible. There are no sacred rules when it comes to design or 3D
Mm-hmm.
modeling or whatever. Try to do the best thing and the thing that you're most interested in. Because when you finish college, you are going to work, and it is better if you work on what you like. For example, you like to do tons of space things, planets, nebulosas, and you actually can get, or and you actually got some commissions for that,
Yep.
which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, moving on, I did all of what I wanted. We have a lesson called, what was the lesson called? It was simulation, but the simulations were done in Cinema 4D, another software which I personally don't like. I did my first simulation were done in there, but I don't like them quite some. Yeah, I don't like it. It was very non-nodal system. I like every system that is nodal
Mm-hmm.
with nodes basically. And I did then another one which was like, if you go in, let's go into my YouTube channel for a second. If you go into the shorts, this one, which is many of my followers do know, was actually done in Maya Bifrost. So I was exploring. I didn't know Houdini back then, and this was for college. We most people uploaded like I don't know a table on live footage or a car moving on live footage. I decided to do a simulation. Do you know how long this simulation took when I had my old rig? It took around 27 hours to finish
Really.
the simulation. And I knew so little about simulation, comping, and any other thing that uh, I actually exported this without an alpha. Without an alpha means that the background is actually a color. It was black, so I had to do a chroma of the background
Mm-hmm.
after 2 or 3 days of rendering. So yeah, I
Oh
learned
boy.
a lot with this project. This is very basic nowadays. It is not that hard to do. In fact, I was trying. I think I'm going to do one day a tutorial of this, and it's probably going to take like half an hour. But when I didn't know anything about this, it took quite a lot. I had to look for everywhere for resources because the teacher didn't know how to do this. He was not
Nice.
on he. Yeah, he didn't know. And in fact, that teacher is nowadays my associate in the business I'm making, which we're going to discuss further later on. Okay,
For sure.
then another. another video which I did for college. This is very, very old. Let's go into this one. Yeah, this is made in. Okay, let's go with this one. This was made with Phoenix FD. It was done in 3D Max. I didn't know anything. It took me a lot. This one too. If I were to do this today, it would be so much different. This one took only to simulate 40 hours, but not because it had to take 40 hours, because I didn't know how to do it. I remember being awake at 6 a.m., stopping the simulation so the RAM would flash, so I don't crash the Houdini instance frame by frame for the last 30 frames.
Oh my
imagine
god.
imagine how I was insane. I was
Dude, I have memories like that. Oh my god.
yeah.
We all
But
have cringe memories about doing weird
yeah,
stuff when we were doing VFX.
yeah, and then you learn a lot,
Yeah.
and you discover that okay, things are way easier than they look like. The problem is knowing where to look for. I have a guy on my Discord server, which is Howard, and his nickname is Google It.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's true. If you don't know something, Google it. That's the
Yeah.
first thing you got to do before even asking. It is amazing how faster you will become only by googling things, and it is a whole technique. I mean, you start to develop like uh, how to Google, because when you don't know how to Google, you will never get to the answer. When you start to practice, you will know where to look. Even though you don't know the exact words, you will learn how to look for information.
Yep.
And always have the documentation open, guys. This is mandatory, I believe.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's also just a matter of courtesy because if you're asking somebody for their time essentially to explain something to you, it's um sort of expected that you've already done some research to that
Hmm.
into that topic. Because really, yeah, I try not to be snarky about it, but a lot of people they don't know how to Google stuff, so they just type whatever question they have right into Discord to get personalized answers. And like that's fine to a degree, but also like be prepared to get some let me Google that for you links back.
Yes,
You know?
yes. When it's a very obvious question, usually instead of sending the link, I send the Google exploration,
Yep.
right? So click on the links you want, but try to do something instead of asking. It's not wrong asking. It's
Yep.
not wrong asking. It is wrong to ask without even trying first.
Correct.
Um, and when you want to meet people online, which online is where you do most of your business, you need to try to be as mature as possible with this because even though it sounds very small, your reputation comes from that. And if you are that guy that always tries to ask and not provide something in exchange, you will earn that reputation. So everything in life is about reputation. Where you study, where you work, how you deal with businesses, with budgets, with clients. Everything is about reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that how much you earn is more about how good um, you negotiate,
Yep.
and not so much about the quality. Of course, the quality will provide you with better business deals, but it is more about how your social skills are. And this is part. It's very small, but it's part of your social skills.
Yeah. That's a
Explain
very
what. Mhm,
oh, so I was just gonna say that's a very good way of phrasing it, right? It's all about reputation, about equal exchange, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically that. And well, I finished college. Going back into the previous subject, I finished college with some very proficient co-workers,
Mm-hmm.
which I chose them on purpose. I didn't want to be with the lazy people of the class. try to separate emotions from work. I try to take college as another work. I made good friends, which nowadays we are still in contact. We've made some work together. They are in another field. They are in UX and marketing, but
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Um, and then I started my first year of nothing, of not doing anything because I was not in college. What do I do? I continue working with the flyers. I started to create my YouTube channel, which I started in Spanish, which a really rough camera, a really rough microphone, no lights. Um, but I liked it. It was interesting. I used to do very boring videos back then. How to move a particle from left to right, and nobody looks for that.
I was
Nobody.
doing the same thing till like a few months ago. Oh my god.
Yeah. And then you learn that, hey, let's create an exploding spaceship going into a black hole with a naked guy on top. And for real, that brings views, which is nice. But then you dive into the video, and the video might be boring because it's very technical. I do very technical videos, same as you.
Yep.
But if you don't know how to expose you in internet, you are nobody. But you learn that with the years. I mean, I've been in YouTube for 2 years roughly, and I went from from Spanish to English, from boring videos to somewhat interesting videos. I learned how to edit my videos on my own. I in fact use a really nice tool, by the way, which automatically removes the silent parts of the video. I used to edit all my videos on
Really?
my own. Yeah.
So
So
if you're not talking, it'll just cut it out?
yeah,
Oh my god.
and
I gotta use
so
that
when I
sometime.
record and I something is not working, I just keep my mouth shut until I know what to say, and I know that the program is going to cut that automatically.
That is amazing.
See,
I did
Walev
not know
8
that.
is saying 100%. It took me a few years to get my first 3D full-time job. I majored in media and communication, work in marketing job at first. The first job is the hardest by far. It took me like 6 months to get a job, and I used that job as an excuse to use Houdini because I was learning. I was very scared because I didn't know how to use Houdini back then, and I actually did a trap video. A trap video. I don't know if it's called trap there. The music. Uh,
I believe it is.
so yeah, one of my clients was this. I don't think. Let me share this with sound. Yeah, I'm going to share this with sound. You try to control the sound
Yep.
for the stream. So everything here was made in Houdini. Of course, there is a lot of kit bash, and it took me 3 months to do this with another friend of mine, which is an admin on my server, and is also one of my other associates in the business I'm creating. Do you know
Hmm.
how much they paid me for 3 months of work?
How
Guess a
much?
number. No, guess a number. Guess a number. This is a 3 minutes video
Um,
in Arnold.
I don't know. I considering the context, I'm guessing it's pretty low.
Extremely low.
All right. Was it under or over 2,000 US dollars?
Under $2,000.
Oh my. Okay. So that's really really low.
So
Um.
it was $300 between two people.
Oh my
fifty
god.
dollars a month. And I made the budget. So I didn't know how
That
to do
was
budget.
that's on you. I'm the same way. I still struggle with charging my clients appropriately.
Yeah, that's another skill you learn with time.
Yeah.
And this was very funny. We did some things with animate, effects, procedural planets. The rendering was very fun. Everything was composite in Nuke. Nuke is like an After Effects, but way better.
Yep.
Um,
We just had, speaking of Nuke, we just had Christopher Frazier on, who's starting to get into Nuke, and he's doing some pretty cool stuff there.
nice.
And
Yeah, well,
I believe Shady is also in the audience, who's doing some cool stuff with Nuke.
Shady uses a lot of Nuke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to go back into it, but I try to just focus on effects and let other come for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's another skill you learn with time, how to delegate work if you work in big teams.
Yep.
So yeah, this was my first work. I finished college, and then I got my actual first job in a studio. The studio is called La Posta VFX. La Posta VFX is a really nice studio, a publicity studio working on various clients like Coca-Cola, Pepsi,
Bro, you
um,
got
I don't
penguins.
know,
That's pretty sweet.
Lay's. It's very nice. Burger King. Let's see if I have something here. Alienware. Okay, so my first work was for this Alienware commercial. I did the first. My first task was these things. All the effects here, basically. You will see.
Is that you?
This wall destruction was mine.
I am hesitant about getting any copyright stuff. I don't think this is gonna be copyrighted though, right? I'm just gonna turn
No,
it.
this is a publicity. I mean, and the song
Okay.
is made for that.
All
So
right.
yeah, that was my first job. I had the what was the name? The intruder. No, the impostor dilemma. I don't know how to say it in English. But I felt like an imposter. I felt like I
Yeah,
couldn't
imposter
do.
syndrome.
It's imposter syndrome, exactly that. I was very scared of not being able to produce what they were asking me. And it
Yeah.
turned out that I was actually above the average there.
Yeah.
I actually did know more than they were expecting me to know. And my
You're just
first
not used to
salary,
the pressure being on you, right?
yeah, I'm well. You and I are very exigent. No, but we demand on ourselves a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's not healthy. But we are
And
like that.
intrinsically motivated, right?
Yeah, we're intrinsically motivated to do productive things every day. Kind of alcoholic,
Oh
workaholics.
yes. It's absolutely addictive, by the way.
It is addictive. Well, yesterday I came back from a party, and the first thing I checked was if my simulations finished.
Do you watch your
And
simulation simulating?
no, it's
No,
always no. You usually don't
because
see when you simulate unless it's caching to RAM, so
oh
you are
okay.
pre-visualizing everything on the go. So I usually just press the save to disk and pray for the best.
Yeah, I have a like an actual unhealthy obsession with watching my stuff render
Yes, I
because
know.
I do that. I was rendering for like
Mhm.
18 hours and I watched it for like 8 hours. It's the
Oh
stupidest
my,
thing.
oh my, yeah, but you want that's when you feel proud.
Yeah.
And well, my first salary here, I mean, of course, I'm in Argentina, so it's incomparable, was uh, 30K pesos. At that time, $100. So you would imagine it's nothing.
Hmm.
Um, but again, I didn't know how to negotiate with my former boss called Pablo. Nice guy. If he's ever going to be watching this, hi Pablo. Um, I I met with him and said, hey, I never worked. Give me a number. Worst thing I could have done. I never suggest you to do that because
Yep.
you are giving the ball to the other guy. Try to always uh, have the ball on your side of the field. I know if you know that expression that
Yep.
having the control of the situation.
Yep.
But I wanted to. It was like, hey, they are paying me to study and to have some experience, so it was okay for me. Then my salary in the upcoming months it rise to 1K a month roughly. Well, we have a lot of inflation, so business here is very interesting. We are having over 100% of inflation annually.
Oh my
So
god,
things,
that's crazy.
yeah, things are very interesting. I don't know if things are expensive or if they are cheap. I have no idea, no idea whatsoever. Um, but I know I do have a nice time here. Um, yeah, 5, 15, 3 months. This guy is crazy, Sandor. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, well, we all start somewhere. Then I worked in another studio, freelancing, while I did full time here. I don't know how ethic is that, but business is business. And I work with Honor VFX. This is, in my opinion, when it comes to cinematics, the best in Argentina. They work for I don't remember the name. It was a boxing movie which got an Oscar, I believe. This one.
Creed. I don't know.
No, this that's
Uh,
very new.
I'm.
So what they were the first on doing like crowd simulations for boxing matches. I think Robert De Niro is in this movie,
Oh.
and I actually became friend with the owner of this studio, which is called Rodrigo Tomaso, and we had some we had some we went to see movies together. We went and have asados. Asados is barbecues in Argentina. Many different times. I even worked with him. So yeah, even though nowadays he's my friend, it's always nice to have that kind of social skills because you tend to work with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Raging Bull may be the movie. Probably. I really don't. I'm very bad with with names.
Same.
And yeah, working with him was uh, very difficult because he's very technical. You can be like 2 days doing just a look dev of an asset, which is good, but it is very demanding, very demanding. But that's how you learn with those kind of art directors.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on a little bit with him. Then I started working with another studio called 3DR. 3DR is a cinematic studio similar to Gizmo. They did this one, which I'm not going to put the music, but they tend to do stuff like this, which is very high quality simulations.
Mm-hmm.
This scene is very interesting because, well, you will see. It's like some mature thing.
What does that? But.
Yeah. So look at this planet. What do you think about this planet? Let's go. Give me your opinion. Is it
Oh, you don't
3D?
want.
I think
So it's looks like
you
it's.
would do it a lot better. I think.
Oh well, yeah, but this was
I
clearly
mean, this
done on
is.
like a low-ish like budget. Um.
I don't know if it's so lowish budget because this is from a
Look,
studio in Los Angeles, or they have a
this specific shot though.
oh,
Yep.
maybe yeah,
Because this is something you can set up in like less than an hour. The
most
planet
likely.
it is, and then what they did is they just like mixed the shots together once it got into a cloud or something. Um.
Yes, yes, but it is a very interesting kind of style. I work for them on another project which is still not up, so I cannot really show. But the aesthetic is exactly the same. This is very nice. Um, I worked for them for a year on many different shots. There was a shot. There was a cell phone going into toilets, and yeah, and there was a guy peeing on the toilet, and I had to actually simulate the pee of the guy, uh, for real.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and it was a challenge because it was actually very hard to do that. Yeah, directing is very hard. Um,
This is a
last
certified
year,
planet moment. Yep, they just mixed it between like a different scene.
yeah, if we can go frame by frame, have a look at that. And there
We
was
don't really need to.
DiCaprio.
It's
Look,
pretty simple.
okay, so last year was very interesting because it was my growth was exponential. My YouTube channel got very known in the Houdini environment.
Hmm.
Um, my my skills with Houdini got very technical. My contacts broadened. My Discord server grew pretty much at the same time as yours.
Yep. For the people that are
Uh,
curious, Pizola has about like 4,500 subscribers, but he's targeting a very different audience than me. So that's the equivalent of like a Blender user having or YouTuber having like I don't know at least 50,000. So you're pretty well known in the Houdini community, I'd imagine, right?
yeah, because I think that the most known YouTube creator is Rebelway,
Hmm.
at least on the Houdini environment, and they have 80K, no more
Yeah,
than that.
and
So,
then also Arvid,
mhm.
right? Arvid Schneider. That's his name.
Yeah, Arvid, yeah, from CG Lounge.
Yep.
Well, John Coons, yeah, John Coons is amazing. It's amazing.
Oh,
He
him too.
destroys me with Vex. Yeah, he's actually Vex god. I do like Vex a lot, but I'm not that proficient. I mean, I am, but not as him. Um, and well, where I was, well, I started to develop those skills. I actually got my first business abroad, which was for actually this shot we are seeing here, which is the plant's growth in the background. One cache of only one shot there took 400 gigabytes.
Oh,
Yes, it was crazy. The amount of geometry being deformed there was crazy. And I had to actually got two other PCs working together on a merge with on a same local network. I had to get deadline renderer for the V-Ray renders because there were like thousands and thousands of frames to render. It was an endeavor. It was very hard.
mm-hmm.
This was my first actual big project where I actually hired some people, and we were a small team of four simulators, and it turned out to be incredible. And it became the first time that I say, "Hey, perhaps I need to, perhaps I need to quit my job." This was over a year ago, but I stayed because having a job is comfortable. You don't get out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
Then it was a year of just um, a calm year. I got a girlfriend. I got more jobs.
Very nice.
Yeah. I went a lot to the gym. I was in my peak. Uh, 3 or 4 months ago, I decided to quit my job because I got a deal with EA, and I made a cinematic. Well, I think in this reel you will be able to see when if you see something about Star Wars, it's
Yep.
basically that job. I hired um, I hired a coordinator. I hired three effects artists on top of me, an animator, and these opposite visuals, which this brand existed since my first video, which is this one, 2 years ago. At the end, you will see.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's see if opposite visual appears.
It
The
was at
logo.
the
Well, the
front,
logo
I
appears
think.
somewhere there, and that's where we created the brand. And I quit it. I quit my full-time job, and I got very happy because I could actually live out of this. And if I don't have a job, I could wait some months. It doesn't matter. We are going to start another project. I cannot say anything more than that, but I'm going to
Yep.
start another project with um, and we developed this website. We developed these reels, all these sections. Uh, well, these are the clients we work with. Um, and this is a very fun story. I told you, but I'm going to tell the audience
Mm-hmm.
how I got this deal with EA. So I think Nathan, which is the guy we are working with, shout outs to him, really nice guy, extremely comfortable to work with. Contact me. I don't know if he contacted me through LinkedIn or our station, but I think he got an email to me, and I believe he saw. Oh yeah, we do character bringing too, and I think he saw my YouTube, all my content, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was asking for just one Houdini artist, and I took the opportunity to tell him, hey, I actually have a team that we can work with. I have never done that, but let's discuss this. We can make a budget. And he got into it. We discussed it, and we started doing business as a studio. And this was the perfect opportunity to actually launch the brand. Um, Usually, when you launch a brand, is on stuff like this that you actually have it, but not official,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know if you should sell yourself as a single artist or you should hire people. Try to get as much things as possible, and things will be organized on its own. If you need help, don't worry, raise the budget, hire a coordinator. That
Mm-hmm.
coordinator is nowadays my associate and my former teacher. He was
Oh
my
yeah.
teacher in college, and we hang out, we go party. It's a very fun relationship. And well, one thing, not everything is happy. When we started working, it was exactly the same time I broke up with my girlfriend. So you would imagine I was destroyed. I'm a very emotional person. And it was him, Nicolas, that basically grabbed the project, started to coordinate everything, and help me with it. So it is very important to know uh, to who you should associate in the future,
Yeah.
because you never know what's going to happen in your personal life, in your work life. You always need to have a backup somewhere. And Nicolas was the best backup I could get, uh, and we made an extremely great job. So now we're working together, and it will continue. I hope for years and years uh, onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and nowadays, doing with each day an even harder and harder and harder tutorial. I don't know where this is going to go. I'm suffering with my ongoing tutorial, but it will look very nice about distraction. While you already saw some of it. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's about
Yeah. That's
most of
crazy.
my story. It was a really long journey, but that's how I got here.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. That was incredibly fascinating to hear because there's some details that I didn't know about there, and certainly a lot of lessons and stuff built into there. So that was really cool. Um, yeah, about your upcoming tutorial, I've been following your progress on that for a little while. That's really neat. Do you have any? Um, are you interested in sharing any of the like previs, I guess you'd call it, the work in progress stuff from that?
Yes,
Because I think
let's
people
see.
enjoy that.
So I usually work with a pipeline manager called Prism. This is like a plugin.
Hmm.
If you guys are into Blender or any type of project with any software, this is the way to handle all your scenes. These are called scenes, and these are called. I mean, these are the scenes, the ones I'm opening, and these are the shots, right?
Uh-huh.
And you can handle all your scene files versionated on their own, and you can see all your flipbooks, and they are actually being depicted here. So what I wanted to do is inspired on the railway course on which is going on, which called Studio FX. I wanted to break something, and this is my first flipbook. A very basic thing, some breakups here and there. I'm
Hmm.
trying to break things, trying to control the animation of some chunks and let everything fall on its own. If we go to, I don't know, 10 iterations later, this is where I got. Now I got better fractures, better pace. Something is going on. There are some pops here. This is wrong, but it is starting to look somewhat interesting.
Your
Uh,
organization for this stuff is amazing, by the way. That's
your
really
what?
cool. Your organization, like you have all of the iterations of it,
Oh
is really
yes,
cool.
it's impossible to work in this field if you are not organized
Yeah.
because there's so many things. Look at this. So I started to use some constraints, and something is going on. I don't know what it is, and this was a headache to solve. It turns out that, well, a constraint is like a way to join A to B, like piece A to piece B, and that you can elongate that in the distance and then activate one piece. If you activate one piece, it's going to do like a spring effect and go back. So that's what's the error I was having.
Hmm.
Solution: everything that got elongated got deleted. So I fixed this in the upcoming flipbooks. Move on to the number 20. Let's see what I was doing here. Now I think, yeah, I improved this a little bit. I didn't like the fractures, but this is way better. I changed the animation a little bit. Things are sticking together way better. This is more organized visually speaking. Then the 22, I think, yeah, I started working on some grain simulations. I left this because I want to do the smoke simulation first. This was just a test on the first chunk. I usually divide all my simulations in chunks. This is going to be one
Hmm.
chunk, this is going to be another chunk, this is going to be another chunk. Otherwise, even my PC wouldn't be able to handle that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, and then I tried to move to smoke effects. I um, I had some issues with the normals. I had some issues with the smoke. I didn't like it, but at least I had something working on here, right? These
Hmm.
some simulations are missing here. But apart from that, it was very nice. And my last flip book, which I think is this one, I fixed most of my RBD. The smoke is awful. Don't look at the smoke. And the pieces are good. Now I'm working on the smoke. I'm going to open this file, which is extremely huge, and you will see this file is huge. Is extremely, 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 extremely huge.
Yeah.
And there are some parts, even, for example, let's see, you see, oh, a single node. No, no, dear. More nodes inside this node.
Yeah. Um, People who are used to eyeing my Blender node setups and with fear, um, yeah,
I
this
mean,
is
this is,
much
of
worse.
course, not organized, not tidy. I could delete
Yeah.
many of these things. If we go into another, wait, before going to another one, I want to show you how this looks uh, with all this simulation. See? These are basically boxes. All of these are their own simulations,
Hmm. These are the
and they
smoke
happen
sims.
in different times. Yeah. because otherwise I would have to simulate a whole chunk here, and
Yep.
my PC would not like that. In fact, I came back from a party yesterday through 2 a.m. and I discovered that, hey, I got nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing, nothing, nothing. So only half of my simulations went through, and some of them have errors. Blue screens. So yeah, it is not as fun as something appear. I need to fix. I need to work on this to at least trying to not get a blue screen.
For sure.
And this is how usually my tutorials look once they are actually uploaded into YouTube. Nice colors and nice organization.
Oh
This
yeah,
is how I
yeah.
try to post everything. This is visually appealing.
That is very nice.
Yeah, I wished some other softwares, like for example Blender or Nuke, had some way of organizing like this. Nuke has something, but
Blender's
not as
got some good node organization tools. You can put them in frames and groups and all that stuff.
yes. This is
Yeah, you
you
can
know
you can do this in Blender.
you can. I don't know how, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
At least regarding the
well,
organization part. Yeah.
and with this pipeline manager, I can go into another project. This is for a movie, for instance, and I have all these shots here for other things. This is for a client. We are actually doing some saliva simulations. Let's see what I got.
Yes, drool.
Drool simulations. So actually, some of my tutorials are inspired on my work. My saliva simulation was created, or the tutorial was created because I had to work with it here. Yeah, that's pretty much like updated to today's day.
Sweet. So I'm gonna just take some time. I gotta leave here in about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but certainly we can answer any questions you guys have, and I've got a few of my own.
Okay.
Um, namely, what I'd like to ask you, what made you stick with Houdini? Because you mentioned you bounced around softwares a little bit, or
Oh
like a
yeah.
decent bit. Like, what's your favorite part about it, and like why are you still doing Houdini stuff after a couple years?
Okay. So it's more of a personal issue. I'm very exigent. Is that a word in English? Exigent. I'm very
Uh,
demanding with myself, right?
yep.
So I started with Cinema 4D. I felt that yeah, this is nice, but do people actually use this in high quality films? I don't think so. I use Real Flow. It was very nice, but it felt strange. And I want to do more complex things. I want to have granular control over everything I do,
Hmm.
right? And then I
Yep.
discovered Houdini. It was the top of the top, and there was nothing that that was even more complex than that. Um, Maybe because it's my obsession with excellence or with self improvement or being the best of the best. I always try to improve over myself, right? And
Hmm.
that's how it is. Houdini is the best of the best in what has to do with effects, and it was the best option. That's how it is. It's not because I prefer the nodal system or no. It's because it's the hardest and the most rewarding at the end of the day.
It is a software that most people are scared of, right?
Yes,
Even
yes,
I'm a bit
yes.
scared of it.
Yeah, but now with the Blender and geometry nodes,
Yeah.
uh, it's like a playfield to begin learning every other software. I mean, you are with Gaia, you work with Gaia the other day, and you know what you
Gaia.
know. Is it called Gaia?
It's called Gaia.
Oh,
Um,
Gaia, Gaia.
but
For
Gaia's
Gaia,
funny.
Yeah, it sounds funny. And well, you know how to use that software because you use a lot of nodal systems inside
Hmm.
Blender.
Yep. Yeah, the knowledge transfers over very well. But of course, the workflows are rather different, and some people on the server have been trying to adapt my Nebula tutorial I put out yesterday, I think, to
Mhm.
Houdini, and they're having some issues with it, even though they have done some pretty cool stuff. It's just very interesting to see how different softwares interpret things and workflows and
Oh
stuff.
yes, yes. I probably need to do that. I was actually planning on doing that, watching your video and seeing what you did, because at the end of the day, a BDB is the same in Blender than it is in Houdini, or the techniques, the mathematical part of the essentials are exactly the same.
That would be something I believe you would want to do in Vex, although I don't know too much about that because it's like a shading thing. I don't think you'd want to do this on like VDBs. I don't know. Oh, you guys can figure it out. I'm a complete
Well,
Houdini
there are
noob.
actually Bex shaders, so
Yeah,
that's totally possible that you can do all your things in just a Bex compiler inside the material
yeah, I think
network.
that's the way to go because it's just more. It's a more direct way to interface with the machine.
Yeah, I
Speaking
need to give it a
of
try.
transferring workflows, though, what's the one thing that really helped you out, or not really just the one thing? Like, what are the things that really helped you out when you were switching to Houdini?
That really helped me out. Well, a tool, I don't know if it's a tool, but a resource, watching every single YouTube video I could watch, even when having dinner, even when going to the bathroom, even when going to the gym. Every time I could have a video on my hands, I would watch it, even if I knew what he was doing. Because it's not
Hmm.
about the result, it's about the techniques. That's something I always say. Don't watch my videos because you are interested in blowing something up. Watch it
Exactly.
because you want to see how I tackle the problems. Working in Houdini or working in Blender or any other software is about solving problems. That's about
Uh-huh.
it. You have a problem, how is the best and most efficient way to solve it and the most art directable way?
Yes,
There's nothing more to it.
you are like 100% right. You should not look at tutorials to try and get the end result. You should look at them to learn the techniques.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
like the most important thing, and that is what happened. That's what I did when I, and that's what propelled me to be like actually a good artist. Is like stop looking for how to do some, or stop looking to see how others are creating the specific thing, see just how they're doing their like general techniques, and then implement those different projects. That wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
very concise way to explain it, but I mean that's sort of what it is, right?
It is exactly like that. Like
Look to
one
abstract
trick I
everything,
use,
you know.
yeah, one trick I use when I started watching tutorials is, okay, I'm watching a tutorial on how to explode this. Well, let's use this technique to make something different. For instance, one technique to fracture an object is to scatter points and have cutters, like grids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a mountain deformer on top of it. So it's like shittery.
Yep.
What if you actually use the mountain deformer on, I don't know, the actual piece of geometry and just cut it with straight cutters? What will happen? What will happen is that you will have a jittery object with straight cuts, and it will look somewhat organic on the outside, because some perhaps you want to do some organic things like breaking. What's the name of those ants that live on the desert and make like a big pile of dirt, which are not ants, they are termites. That's the
Yeah,
name.
I think.
How do you do something like that if you are not using ZBrush? Well, you need to know where to look for the information. The only thing that you are going to get with the mountain deformer on a cutter, I mean, knowing that a mountain deformer can work on a cutter, might give you the idea, hey, I can make a cube and I can deform that cube to make somewhat of an organic shape. And if you bring that same knowledge with the same idea into another field, like working with volumes, you will
Mm-hmm.
have an even more detailed asset. And you are not doing any type of sculpting. I don't even know how to create a cube in ZBrush. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It is impossible for me, right?
Yeah.
Um, Perhaps another tool would be, let me think, what would it be? Well, always having the documentation open, always having the geometry spreadsheet open, um, always Google everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything. You have a slight doubt, you are having a piece of code, don't use that piece of code unless you actually know what that piece of code is doing.
Exactly.
Learn from the piece of code.
A man
Because,
after my own heart. You
yeah,
have to know
even if you're
everything
not going,
bottom up, right?
exactly, even if you're not going to use that code ever in your life, learn it.
Yeah.
You don't know.
It's very funny because pretty much everything I do comes from the fact that I learn things bottom up, from like math to like basic arithmetic to rendering engines, right? And then I sort of
Hmm.
use different pieces of knowledge I learned from different places to invent new techniques that have um, certainly defined parts of my 3D work. Um, Ryo Masaki asks, why aren't I using Houdini? Basically just because I haven't learned it yet. I've been meaning to, and I really should get on that. Um, and I will watch the shit out of Pizola's tutorials. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just it. I want to. I just haven't gotten around to it just yet.
Mm, what else? Well, you also like to do tons of shading techniques.
Mm-hmm.
There was one thing I learned in the first cleans challenge, which let me show you because I have the video here. Uh, 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 okay, I'm here. No, I should have shared the other window. Wait a second. Change window. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Where is my other? There it is here. Okay. So if you go into my channel, this is the video. It's very at the bottom. This one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's there we go. 2K, so better bitrate. Um, Everything here was done in Houdini. The rocks are procedural, even the ones scattered on the ground. The This one is the disintegration of the planet, and you can see there are some things like there are some rocks getting impacts into the force field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they actually emit smoke. I learned, because I wasn't so proficient back then with Vex, how to use the dot product, right?
Yep.
Uh, Once I learned how to do the dot product, I used it to emit some smoke. Some months later, I had a commission where I had to. I don't know where the commission is, so I'm going to just show you the breakdown of this. And that commission was. I'm lost. Where is my the video? Am I blind or something? I think I'm blind. Okay, here. And the commission was to make like a shark swimming in the air, and but it was under the water at the same time. Kind of strange. And I had to do like the caustics, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? I made a mask with the dot product of the surface normals of the shark, and I mixed it with a noise. And that noise was plugged into the diffuse, and the diffuse was risen, so it would look like it's lighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a shader trick. There was no light whatsoever. It was not a projection from a light. It was a shader trick which I did with dot product. You see how
Yep.
results I learned some months ago turned out to be useful some months later.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Dot
Into
products are
shading.
like my best friend.
Hmm.
I use them everywhere.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
yeah. I use cross products, and dot products are the best thing of the best.
Yeah. Well, it's also crazy because they turn up in places that you don't expect them to. Like I
Hmm.
use like cross products are integral to creating good gas giant shaders, for instance. That's something I didn't expect. But hey, they're there. Um, for anybody wondering why, it's because they essentially rotate something 90 degrees, and you need to do that to get good curl fields. Just an interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's beyond my field.
Yeah, I'm just nerding out at this point.
Mm, okay. Ah, it's so nice to know about math.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my whole journey. If I don't know if somebody has any questions or there are more questions to be answered.
Yeah, sort of last call for questions. I got about 5 minutes left.
Thanks, peace. I'm a dummy when it comes to math. I'm using it for 9 months. I'm slowly getting somewhere. Yeah, it's very slow. The first 6 months are a pain, Houdini. Thanks to Pizola, I've learned some complex subjects. Kind of funny to see him here. Yeah, it's like a nice. What's the name when you cross two people? A crossover. A
Yeah,
nice crossover.
crossover. Yeah, certainly. All right, I'm gonna wait for about a minute to see if there are any more questions that trickle in. Uh,
Sure.
But yeah, um, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. By the way, that was very fun for me as well as for you guys because it's always great to hear about uh, other stories of artists. Because there's always something to learn. No matter how many stories of artists that you hear, there's always something new.
Always,
Yeah.
without exceptions.
All right. I think there are no more questions, so I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Pizola, it was a pleasure to have you. That was
A
very
pleasure
fun.
for hosting me.